Hi, how are you guys? Welcome back to a new episode of Alma Latina Journey Within. Well, I've thought a lot about what I am supposed to tell you about today in this episode, and I remembered that somebody that I know asked me how can she overpass the imposter syndrome, and it actually pressed the button um, that I used to have. And then I understood that, okay, from my experience, I can actually tell you something, and maybe it helped to understand what is the imposter syndrome and why it happens and how can we just overpass it. So the imposter syndrome, it's actually a feeling that you're not worth it. You're not worth it enough. You don't worth the success that you might have. That in every moment of your life, somebody will actually just discover that you are not as good as you say you are. It's actually a state of mind, a state of profound insecurity that makes you doubt everything that you do, every decision that you take, and it cannot allow you to just validate your own success. That it's actually happening because you have valid proof that you are competent, but sometimes and somehow you just don't believe that you are. So this is the imposter syndrome. Well, you might say that, or you might think that this syndrome happens to the people that don't know stuff, that are not good enough, that are just afraid that will be discovered that they don't know nothing. Well, actually, it's not like that. It has a lot to do with being a perfectionist. Why? Because the perfectionism is one of the greatest fuel of this syndrome. Because even though we see it as a quality, and I was seen very much time as being a perfectionist, and I was proud of it. And now I'm not proud of it because I understood that being perfectionist is not a quality. It's actually a form of self-sabotage. Why? Why is self-sabotage? Because it appears, it's actually well, a symptom, not of a trauma, but a symptom of the things that happen in childhood when we are taught to. And tell me now, how many times your parents, your family, your friends taught you that you have to be the best in order to be appreciated, to have good grades, to be appreciated. A 7 or an 8 was not good enough, right? Nobody told you, yay, great, you took a 7, that's fine. No, they would say, couldn't you do better? Couldn't you learn more? Or do you see your colleague or do you see your best friend? Why could she take a 10 or an 8, depending the country you are in? So it happens to me a lot, so I'm sure it happens to you a lot. So this is how we are taught to being only when we are the best. But what does the best mean? It doesn't mean being a perfectionist, but actually it teaches us that only through absolute excellence we are worthy. And this is how, as adults, we learn that imperfection is a threat to our identity, and therefore we become perfectionists. We tend to have extremely high standards. That does not mean that we are better than anybody else that doesn't have these standards. Because we put these standards and sometimes they are impossible to reach. And when we don't reach these standards, we actually are not worthy of success. And this is how we come to get this imposter syndrome, when we don't do things perfectly enough. And I'm sure it happened to you a lot. If you don't know that you had this syndrome or how to identify it, I will tell you from my experience how I managed to understand that I am suffering actually from this imposter syndrome. And I tended to postpone, for example, different projects or different essays to my latest University of Psychology. Ha! Yeah. How about that? But I'm not suffering at the same level about this syndrome. But I still do have some things that are left there. So postponing launching a project because the project is not good enough, or the moment is not good enough. Nothing is good enough for you to launch that. Well, this is a symptom. Or you compare yourself constantly with others. Oh, I have a course. For example, as I think I've told you, I do branding and communication. So among other things, I do also courses, and I teach, and I'm invited to sustain workshops. And I compared myself at the beginning with other competitors. It's fine up to a moment, but when you say, I think they are better than me, I don't have anything special to offer in this course, well, this is a symptom of this syndrome. Or you under-evaluate your work. You say, for example, and I said that, yeah, but anybody knows this, everybody can do that. Okay, I do communication, I teach people how to create their identity, their reputational image, the personal brand, but I think they know that already, they can do that. And guess what I discover starting to work with them, and I worked with CEOs and high-level professionals, that they find it hard. They find it very hard what I do, and they don't understand it from the beginning. And then I'm very shocked and wowed that this kind of things that for me are just plain, people don't find them that easy. So when I compare myself and when I say everybody can do that, well, this is a symptom as well. Also, we avoid great opportunities because when we don't think we are good enough, we try to refuse great or big collaboration, or we don't want to apply for a good or a better job because what if I'm not good enough for that job, So these are symptoms that we are suffering from the imposter syndrome. We tend to, and I did it as well, and sometimes I still do, so I do have to work on this matter. We get fixated on details that are not significant enough, but the perfectionist from within starts to kick off and say, this project is not detailed enough to launch it, or whatever. Guess what? Because I'm an entrepreneur, and I understood actually in time that it's better to launch a project, a product, a service, whatever you do, even though it's only 70 or 80% ready, rather than to wait to be 100% ready. That, when you are starting to do that, it's actually a sign that you will never launch it, because you will always find details that are not good enough, because you're actually avoiding, uh, because you are a perfectionist. And guess what? 10 other people in the world will have the idea, will launch it, and they will have success. So uh, I will give you another personal example. I already said that I do courses and I do workshops about personal branding. And when I first started to work on this field of expertise, I was actually invited because people knew that I am good in uh, commercial brand and strategy, communication, and brand strategy. And they invited me to also personal branding strategy. And I said, well, I don't know how to do it. I'm not good enough to do it. I'm sure there are a lot of other people that are perfectly to do this. So I refused for a while to do this because I was sure I cannot offer anything good and everybody else can do it better. But uh, little by little, I accepted the challenge. So this is one of the things that we can do. I accepted the challenge, and I start working on this. I actually, when I paused and really thought about what can I bring on the table different from all the others competitors, I created one of the uh, greatest, from my opinion now, masterclass of personal branding that I could find on the market, because I put my mind to think differently and I found a way to make it special, to make it like okay, there are some things that are normally the same with other people. I have another approach, so I brought on the table my expertise, my approach of commercial branding, and some other stuff like neuro branding and so on and so forth. And I overpassed that idea that I'm not good enough and everybody can do it like I do. Well, no, they don't do it like I do. They still don't. And this is why very soon I will launch it in the corporate world. So see, when you start actually pushing a bit yourself, not over the limit, but to lower the standards that you are not good enough, you will discover that you are even better than others. So let's not auto-sabotage ourselves without knowing. How do we do that in general? We do it without recognizing that we actually worth it and we have success. We might say normally, I got lucky with this client. So no, it's not luck. It's you. You did it. You know how to do that. So also stop comparing with others, because you are unique and you can find things to be unique. And we don't know the struggles of the others. We just assume that their life is perfect or their job is perfect, and it's not. So also let's stop avoiding or postponing launching projects, because it's not the case. And also something that I actually did with not only this course, with my services in my agency, I tended to lower the prices, to sell with a lower price, because I thought nobody will pay for more. But actually they do pay. If I worth myself, if I value myself, they are doing the same with me. So everything that happens to you, it's how you just project to the others. And another risk when we self-sabotage, it's the burnout. Because perfectionist, as I said, this syndrome, it's more in the perfectionist world. Um, we work more than others, hoping that we will somehow compensate the feeling that we are not worthy enough. And this gets us to burnout. I've already told you some ideas of how can you overpass this syndrome. But another one, as I think I said at the beginning, is accepting that perfectionist does not exist. And I stopped thinking about myself that I'm a perfectionist. I do have um, some remaining stuff, but I try to say that things are to be perfected, which is different. That means progress. And every time that I feel that I need to know everything, I stop and breathe and say, no, I don't need to know everything to be valuable. Um, and I will give you an example on this case. I was, for 6 years, vice president of communication in a great association that was promoting leadership. And I was sitting at the table with other amazing women, ex-CEOs and so on, really amazing women. Every time we met, I felt that I was not worth it to be at that table, to be in the board, because I'm little and I'm a little girl and I don't know anything. And every time they were just applauding what I do, my ideas, my expertise, my creativity in communication. uh, I was shocked that such amazing women appreciate my work, and little by little I understood that I need to learn how to recognize my merits, and with humbleness, and still with fear, I was accepting the idea that I'm good enough to be at that round table. But it's a process, it's not easy, but we have to do it. Whenever we don't understand or we don't want to accept that we do great things, just make a list of the things, little things that you do, and they are just successful, and then you will start to understand and to learn to say, I did it because I'm competent, not because I got lucky. And also, as I said, don't wait to be perfect to launch something. Just expose yourself to a bit of imperfection, but think about it as progress. And start launching the project or the service or the product before you think it's ready. It will never be ready. You understand? It will never be ready because you are not ready. And not on the last place, just try to be more kind with yourself, and be conscient that nobody knows everything, but what we have to do is to not stop learn all the time, but that doesn't mean that we get perfected. We're just trying to know more things for ourselves, but we will not be perfect. So this is my experience with imposter syndrome. It was at a higher level before. I still have it sometimes, but as I said, it's a work in progress. So I'm trying my best to stop the thoughts, sorry, when they come to me, when I start thinking, oh, I'm not good enough. No, I'm good enough. And actually, a lot of campaigns, a lot of projects, a lot of people appreciate my work, and I just have to accept it. So this is good enough. So as a conclusion, if I might say, please just think about it, that you are more than you think. You are more that you think about yourself. Of course, this syndrome doesn't disappear completely, but maybe it's not supposed to disappear. Let it there in in the percentage that helps you evolve, that helps you progress, um, but without criticism. Okay, do that, because otherwise you will be stuck in a circle, and this is not evolution. And true value is not about being perfect, it's about being authentic. It's about having the courage to be vulnerable, to accept the imperfection, but to keep on going no matter what. So it's better to be perfect in your imperfection rather than to be perfect that does not exist. So just exist and be imperfectively perfect. Kisses.